So tonight I was going to go ahead and give you an update on where I'm at with my NMRA achievement program building. Also, I think I'm going to do just a regular segment. I'm going to put up some of my models for the uh, the thumbnails, and so I want to make sure I show them, give a chance to show them as well. Um, I got some nice comments on the last one, and some folks like to see it. So I'll make sure that I would make sure that I'll show those as well. The cover photo was of Wiley scale, or what? I'm sorry, it's I'll have to remember the name, but it's if any of you know Wiley scale models, Mind Mount Models um, built a tavern in there um, with their name on it, and I went and I did a little spin to a restaurant I grew up with back in New Jersey. So I'll go ahead and show that. All right. And of course, um, just to throw it out there, make sure you subscribe on your whatever podcatcher you have for the Crossing Gate podcast. That's the Twin Cities Divisions podcast. It's um, it's a really good podcast for those of you who are who are well versed in the details of railroading, and I learn quite a bit on it because I come into the hobby from, I wouldn't say I'm artistic, but I come in from a model building point of view. As I grew up, I saw mostly passenger trains, and that's kind of what I knew, but I knew nothing even about the passenger train. So I learn a lot. So I encourage everybody to catch up on those and look for the new ones that come out. I don't know if they have many coming out over the summer. We're very active here in the summer because we hibernate in the winter here in Minnesota. But once we get the modeling season going again, I know those will kick off. So if you haven't listened to them, I recommend doing so. Same with Ray at Around the Layout podcast. Really enjoy that one. Lots of great. It's an interview based show, and boy, do you learn a lot. You learn a lot about the modelers out there, and it makes the hobby less intimidating. Hearing how people got into it, what people are doing, what their influences are. It's a really, really informative podcast. So I would recommend that as well as many other podcasts out there. Okay. So, what I want to do, I'm going to try to do kind of a slideshow and show you the models as well. But we'll see if the slideshow piece works. But essentially, I'm working on 4 cars, and I'll show you where I've gotten to on 3 of them. And I sort of broke out and started doing, I wanted to do them all together. But I started to break out and kind of experiment with one. So here are the other 3. This is as much as I got done. I got sanding done, got rid of all of the preformed pieces, added the center beam styrene, and kind of stuck there. There are on these models, the step wells get covered up, and they come out if they need to, and there's 3 of the 4 models already. Whoever was working on them already did them. So let's see if you can see here. They already covered a styrene. I want to know how he managed to bend that. And that was really kind of cool. Now, if you look at the prototype, though, if we're sticking to prototype, it looks like one big metal slab. It's square. It doesn't bend in. I just thought that was kind of neat. That's how that came out. So I went ahead and sanded these edges down, and let's see if I can get that up there. And I added the styrene myself, so mine are flat. Um, the only thing is, looking at the prototype, I think mine are in a little too far. On the prototype, they're out above because they actually would move. So that's hopefully not going to detract from the model for those that are looking at the prototype, and for the prototype certificate, hopefully something that minor won't get in the way. But on one model, I did get quite a bit further, so we'll preview that. So I started working with, this is, I think, 020 rod. So it's really, really thin, and I'll have to see if I can adjust my light. My tripod is kaput, and so I'm using the light desk mounted, so I apologize for that. Let's get the here. So basically, I've added the main junction box and started adding and creating the air reservoirs, and I'll show you those. And then in the pictures on the in the magazine is where you get, so while this is great and all, this is where you get all of the piping and wires and everything that you need. So and it is pretty decently spelled out in the directions. There are a few things I had to interpret, like for the air reservoirs, he said use 040 styrene, but he didn't say how it was mounted. Was there a bar all the way across the mount? That really didn't say. So I had to do that the best way I could figure out. So I did use styrene, the 40 styrene, and I cut a little tiny, it's really hard to see, but I cut a little tiny piece in there because I actually tried to put this one on right onto the wiring that's on here. There's actually 4 of these 020 rods, and it wouldn't stay on because of these rings that are around the air reservoir. So that actually helped. I then went ahead and created the other 2 air reservoirs. And I don't know how well I'm going to get that, but there's the 40 styrene. That was 015 styrene where the rings around. To create these tubes, I actually stuffed other tubes. There were 2 other tubes that I stuffed in here. One that was just smaller than this one, and then it was a tube, and then a solid piece that fit into that one. Then sanded it down to make as much of a curve on it as I could. Let's see if you can see that. And you might be able to see from, maybe not, but you can see I didn't put it all the way through. They're on each end, and then I just sanded them down to get that curve in there to a flat to look somewhat like this. And like you said, it looks somewhat like that. And so the next step will be to add those on. And I can't really get these to stand straight up, but it actually will look pretty decent for what I thought it was going to look like. It came out well. So we will see that, but let me see if I can get some action shots as well here. I am going to try to share with you. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see here. Let's see. I appreciate you bearing with me on this. Let's see. All right. So hopefully everybody can see that. Let me see if I can. There we go. I did want to try to optimize these. I was using PowerPoint and could be any sort of I put in a design. I didn't put any writing in here, but what I was really trying to do is fit a lot of pictures into a short amount of slides. So on these first two pictures, the one on the right, that's me. That's the how these came, and it had an air reservoir and it had some other things in it to represent different pieces of the bottom and the different items like air conditioning and there's a big there's battery boxes and sewage treatment and stuff, and so that was all represented with little squares and things like that. So I took to sawing those off. That's when I hurt my hand again. You can see the air reservoir is off on that one. And then I took to sanding them. Let's see if then just to show you a close up here, this is a piece I left on because I don't know really how to model it. I've found this one small picture of this and got some advice as what those were, and and most people are saying that has to do with the suspension. And since I'm seeing it in pictures, I'm going to leave it on. Yeah, I'm hoping to show the models to some MMRs before they get evaluated. I'm hoping to get some feedback, and if they want me to model that, I will find a way to do that. Here you can see the four of them I was working on, and again, I was trying to work on them together for this. Where is it? For what I'm using as filler is the Tamiya Putty White. It's really, really smelly stuff, and I'm told it's pretty toxic stuff. So I was using my vent on my airbrush booth to get that outside, and that worked pretty well because this was really, really smelly stuff. And then in sanding it down, if you're working with a putty like this, make sure you have some eye protection. Make sure you have like an N95 style mask to keep the particles out of your throat and out of danger. Over on the right here, that's me doing a messy job sanding away and cutting away some of the stuff that needed to be cut away. As you'll see, there's going to be styrene that gets filled in there. Here's on the next slide. On a couple of them, I used, I think, 030 instead of 040, which it recommended. So on a couple of them, there's a small dip, and I used extra putty on that. I should have taken them up and put them back out because they ended up being pretty flush. But I did a lot of cutting and recutting to get those to fit in there to make that flush. There's just a picture of that little side and the step wells. And again, here I am. I had put on all that center beam on all of them, and then decided to start to tackle one, and it became much harder on my hands. And so I was really focusing on one to get these support beams that would go across. And here's some more work and getting close up on that. What you'll notice on this one, there's one really loose wire, and that I had a lot of trouble figuring out how to get that tight. What I started to learn as I went was that if you super glue like one end, you can actually pull on these and keep them tight and taut as you go through. And so I was able to do that. And um, I actually, at the advice of the um, of the author, I actually pre-drilled the 3 holes in these cross beams, but either they got covered with debris, um, or even glue may have gotten in them, but I couldn't get this to kind of go through. And what I'll probably do on the next time I do this is I'll probably actually wire them all through when I cut them, because it's so hard, because you end up with all these angles in the cuts and they're not even cuts straight through, making it harder to get the wire through. So what I might do is cut the holes, then wire them all 3 wires and everything, and then just struggle to glue them in place, then kind of push these out, glue one in place there, push it out, glue it in place. I'm hoping that technique ends up being a little easier, but you can see I eventually got through it. Um, there's going to be 4 wires on the center beam, and so that's what these are for. Their supports for the wires, and those got glued on. Okay. And then here's some additional pictures of the work on the wires. I'm trying to show you here, being that I haven't painted them yet. It's very hard to see on camera, but I'm getting those glued in. If you don't have the right drills, it's very hard to thread these where you need to thread them. And I had the wrong drill size and had to make a special run to the hobby shop to get additional drill bits to make sure I could get them in. They look good. Here is a better angle. Here is, these are actually 4 of the wires going over the center sill. And you can see here, I got the drill holes a little too close, so they ended up getting glued together. But as you get down, they're really tight together on here anyway, so it doesn't look too bad, to me anyway. We'll see what it looks like when it's painted. And here is me making those air reservoirs. So when what you don't understand, I think, if you're just going into it in a project like this and you're trying to follow a prototype, there's so many things you have to do, and it takes a long time. I didn't get these done in a night. I didn't move on from the wires, and the wires were a different night, and so it takes some time. So, but what I did here are all 3 that I worked on. So you have the outer tube, an inner tube, and then a solid rod. And I kind of got them in just and glued them in with super glue and angle, and on a slight angle. So the first thing I did was get this one almost flat to the inner tube, and then I did the angle kind of grinding on it. And so you see here how they came out. Sorry, these pictures look a little dirty, but not my intention. And then here I am getting these little guys glued on. I'm actually shocked that I can do these things. I look at done models from other people, and it's like, I can't work with that kind of small stuff, but pretty impressed that I was able to figure out how to do it and get it looking somewhat good. And again, this is going to be under the car. The most it's going to be looked at is when it's evaluated for AP. Outside of that, probably not many people are going to see that, and it'll just be a pride thing at that point. So just a couple more pictures here just to show you where I'm at. And then I wanted to leave this one for last. So you remember I got 5 of these cars, and I said one of them doesn't fit right, and you can see these huge gaps in here. And I kind of did on the other end. Um, I didn't realize I got a 17-cent discount on this car. So somebody was being, I don't know how old it couldn't have been that old that they didn't have weights out there, but somebody used the pennies they had. And I say 17 cents, and this really bothers me. And Gopher Girl will understand. First of all, not first of all, it's an odd number. Second of all, visually, it just has this one penny here and two in every other stack, and that drives me nuts. I can't have it out. I can't look at it. I also blame Gopher Girl for making me that obsessive compulsive at this point, but found it interesting that I got a 17-cent discount. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with that car, if I'm going to use the bottom of that car, or, or just scrap it at this point. 4 cars is going to be, these are 85 foot. They're going to be huge on my layout. So I don't even probably need that 5th car, but just thought I would show you that. So okay, and then I can't remember if I showed this last time, and I probably did, but I was talking about using super glue. I found out that I was allergic to super glue, and I don't know if it was just the brand of super glue. I didn't try others, but I was wheezing and having breathing problems, and I didn't realize how bad it was until I was actually talking to my mother on the phone once, and my wife noticed it and said, you have to stop using super glue. And I said, what am I going to do? So I pay a little bit more, but Bob Smith Industries makes this super gold, and I think there's like a super gold plus, and I think it's just the drying time, but it's odorless. It's odorless CA. From using other CA, it does take a few seconds longer for it to hold. You can use, and I got their Instaset. You spray this stuff, actually smells. It doesn't bother me. It just smells bad. It's me, but this works. I do have a little bit of trouble dispensing it. It comes out very fast and very thin from the bottle. So I most often use a toothpick. I really should get probably a either one designed for dispensing glue. You can get them. They're like etched metal. They're a little expensive. You probably just get some needles, some sewing needles, and cut the top of the sewing needle so that you have 2 prongs, and the bead of glue will stick in there for you to apply it where you need to apply it. But sometimes that glue comes out so fast that it covers the whole area. Also on this, I tested some paint. So the paint that was recommended in the article, I think, is Flowquill, or it's a paint that's kind of out of production, but it's kind of like not so stark of a black color that this is. It's kind of like moth black, and it probably doesn't show well on camera, but that's the color. It's a chalky paint. Let me see if I can get it. And this was recommended in some of the groups out there to replace it, but it's called Anvil Gray, and maybe the cap might give you a little bit better idea of the color. So it's a flat chalky finish, and that most people felt matched the grimy black focal paint. So I went and got that. I'll have enough of that for a lifetime, I'm sure, to get through these cars for sure. But I'm really interested to see how that comes out. If you really want to put me in a timeout, Gopher Girl, you can do that. But who's going to do all the man's work around the house? Like you always tell me, my job to do if I'm in a timeout. Okay. Let's see here. So I'm going to continue to work on the cars and get through the I would like to get through one, have it looked at by the MMRs in my division and the AP chair representative of our division, so that they can kind of tear it down and tell me what I need to do so that I can work on the other 4 cars. So I'll probably be focusing on this. I don't know when I'll actually start working on the layout piece of it. I've got to figure out how I'm going to get a really uniform module. The other thing that I need to do for the main building for the module is the New Brunswick station. That's kind of the centerpiece. If you remember, there's a bridge that goes it's already a bridge going through the city of New Brunswick over onto the water over the Iron River. So whatever module I build, I'm going to have to build it lower than the other modules and figure all that out. So that's a bigger piece. I think that I'll get back into building that station. Hopefully I can get myself back into that after the cars, but I think I want to focus on trying to finish up the cars, and showing it here is a great motivation for me to keep working on it. And I appreciate everybody's feedback when you do send it, when you comment on it, and look forward to additional feedback on that. So as promised, I want to go ahead and bring out that Mind Melt Models building. That I worked on it. So we'll have to take a closer look at this. As you can see, this is just the roof. So there's essentially 2 ends to this. This is considered the back end of the tavern. And you can see it's called Stuff Your Face. Here is on the side. You can see I'm going to have to learn my angles here, but that's the name of the restaurant I grew up with. And it's in a college town. Rutgers University is a state university of New Jersey. It's in a college town. This is a very Rutgers-centric bar. It's down the street from the campus. It's kind of on the main drag of quite a few restaurants and bars and things. And I'm not sure if I've expressed it on here, on this show, but everywhere else I've expressed it. I never thought I wouldn't like a part of model railroading. I like trying everything. And I found my nemesis, and that is shingling roofs. So here is the shingled roof on the easy. This is the way easy side, and there's all kinds of problems with it. Including that needs to be glued down a little bit more. But I don't know about you, but I hate shingling. And that is something I might actually farm out to somebody if I have to do that again. Here's a tar paper roof. This is really interesting. I've done a bunch of tar paper roofs, so I'm not intimidated by them. I was a little intimidated by this. This is a purposeful arch in the roof that they had, so that was a challenge. But still easier than these stupid things, and I think you can probably see it here more. I don't know if I can get the, I don't know how. I think if I can maybe get some more light somehow. I'm probably breaking that too. There's some light here. But to get the shingle, you can see these are, oh my goodness, this is just driving me nuts looking at this. But getting the shingling in between these two pieces here and covering everything, I can't even look at it. I'm going to stop looking at that. But that absolutely is something I never want to do again. I will figure out other roofs to do. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that I did here. Shout out to Gopher Girl. Everybody online loves it that's already seen this. But I can't do colors. I can't match colors. I can't do anything with colors. So I rely on her for all my models to pick color schemes. And she picked this blue on this color scheme. And it looks really fantastic. And the brownish, the grayish brown that's used on the roof. She picked that out and it looks fantastic and everybody loves it. And this is kind of an off-white that's on here. Plus I kind of dirtied it up a little bit. So let's take a look here. So it's up close a little bit. So the white door, then the gray, and then this blue. And came out pretty darn well. So I will continue to hire her as my color person, my don't cancel me, my color coordinator, and I'll add a interesting little story, maybe interesting to just me, when it comes to color coordination. So back when I was in New Jersey, before I had moved out to Minnesota with Gopher Girl, I had gotten this job, and it was an office job, and I didn't need to wear a jacket, but I needed to wear slacks, a shirt, and a tie. And boy, I could not coordinate for the life of me. She wouldn't even let me out of the house. I don't think even my mother would let me out of the house the way I would put stuff together. So being that I actually didn't live, I was dating Gopher Girl at the time, and so I didn't live with her, but she wanted to make sure I didn't walk out of the house with my colored coordination abilities. So she got all of my shirts for work, all my pants for work, all my ties for work together. And just like a little boy getting their name put on the tag in their underwear when they're a child, she put numbers and letters on each of the garments. Then she put together this list that listed the numbers and letters that could go together. And she had enough combinations that I wasn't wearing the same thing all the time. And I don't know how many pieces of clothing I have. If I still had that piece of paper, I would have it framed, because it really defines how she operates, and it helped me from being embarrassed at work with colors that didn't match and things like that, and help with her embarrassment of me as well. But I don't know, 20 some odd years later, she's still with me. So I followed the directions pretty good, and it was really easy to follow. I just looked at the tag, and it was, and I had the color coordination I needed. So another shout out to Gopher Girl. So back to the model. Here, the all of the signs that I did there, I printed on my inkjet printer, scaled them down, found them on the interweb and scaled them down. Tried to be as close to the signage as I could with Stuff Your Face. And if you're ever in New Brunswick, New Jersey, you have to go to Stuff Your Face. I'll give them some free advertising. Their signature thing are strombolis, and if you're not really if you've never heard of a boli or a stromboli, it's essentially an inside out pizza. It's like or a pizza burrito or something. Like, basically the dough is wrapped around all of the ingredients inside. It's fantastic. And these days they have all kinds of microbrews there and everything. So it's a can't miss there. Thinking about, so let's pick this apart a little bit. You can see me playing with pieces here. This was figuring this out. This was the first one, if you can't tell, and this was the second one. There you go with the lighting. With this coming up, and so I really couldn't figure out how to get that one done. And by the second one, I eventually did. Another piece from that OCD thing that I now have that I can't get over is you can't really see it as well here. You have to see it on a flat surface. But when I glued this down, this piece is a flat piece. The awnings pieces are all added on. The decorative pieces, the windows, the doors, all of it's added on to a flat piece. Well, that flat piece is not perfectly square with the bottom here. I don't know if you can really tell again in here, but it's higher here and it's lower here. And so that drives me a little nuts. So as long as I don't get too close to it, of course, the roofing took forever. One of the other things I struggled with were these chimneys. They were using paints on them and other types of things like the clear coat and stuff really softened the pieces of wood up, these really thin pieces. These edges are really thin, and so if you're working on something like this, don't overuse paint or solvents or things like that on something so thin like that. Be careful of that if you're pre-painting or anything in the sprue. That can cause you some problems. Not sure if you can tell, but this one's sort of bent because of that. And of course, I'm picking this apart really close and everything. I've said it in, welcome Saru to Eastern Rail Fan Productions. I just recently found her channel. If you haven't seen her channel, I'd say go check it out. It's a fun channel. And so welcome to live stream. I'm very new to this. This is, I think, my fourth live stream. So, but welcome. So trying to think of some other things I went through here. I've said this on videos that I've done. Read your directions. Even I know we all don't like to read directions. All of us men, at least, don't like to read directions. Even if you're an experienced model, just read through them. There may be a tidbit or two that might be helpful or unique. So I have another can of spray paint, and it's this stucco. And I have had textured paint in the past. I actually had like a local textured paint years ago that I got when I first started. And I never really learned how to use it. But trying to get I read and looked for other techniques that other people have used for the stucco. But I settled on trying what was recommended by Mind Mount Models because I wasn't sure about the other techniques. And if the stucco came out well, I could use it for other things. This is a nice, warm, light stucco that you could actually weather much more than I did. I barely weathered this because it has enough grain and things on it to give it some color too. Um, and it doesn't look brand new. And but you can certainly weather that a bit more and make it look, have some real character to it. But I think it came out pretty well. So I liked the suggestion that they did. Um, when I was doing so so you'll remember last week with the depot and all the mess that I was making, I actually had a precursor to that here. And here, using this, sorry for my shakiness, bit of a tremor, but I actually was gouging some of that wood out to try and make it look used and abused. Um, for this type of building, for what I was making, these probably weren't necessary, but I thought, well, why not do it to give it some older charm to it? Um, with the wood that's holding it together, I went in and I just poked that with one of those, not a track nail, but one of those other T-pins. I just poked it in a little bit so it's inward, and then I used the what some of us call um, uh, what is it? The taco sauce, the Tamiya panel liner, and I just put a dot in there to give it some, make it look like there's a nail in there. So I did that uh, as well. But this went together, other than my own mistakes, this went together really nicely. The directions um, were robust for um, for something like this. They were robust. They had lots of pictures, had suggestions, had part sheets. It was pretty complete, uh, and so I enjoyed this build. And I know that we are um, pushing gently the owner of my mount models, Ron Kleiss, to work with the Twin Cities on a group build type of thing. Um, I hinted at him at one point that, hey, we'd all love a discount so that we could all, buy into these kits. If you get into the wood craftsman kits, they can get expensive. As bigger models can get real expensive. So I've been pushing them to do that with us, and I know our leadership in our division is also doing that, and I know he's doing that with another division or another region. I believe in New Jersey. So hopefully we can get him to do that, and I'll have I'm hoping to have another chance to build one of his buildings. So if you are not sure you want to try this, or you're scared to try it, or you don't want to spend a lot of money, he does have some very small buildings. They're going to be very square, like a trackside feature or something like that. Let me go ahead and throw his website up here. That's mymountmodels.com. He has some stuff that I think is in the $10 to $20 range. They're basic, but if you ever want to learn or get the bug to build a craftsman kit, or just build a kit, if you've never built a kit, you can start small and not spend a lot. And I know he has models that are affordable there as well. So there was another model in the picture, in the thumbnail, but I decided I'm going to save that because I'm going to run out at some point. So I will show you next time, hopefully, the other model in there, which was inspired by Gopher Girl as well. If she could eat only Mexican food for the rest of her life, she would eat only Mexican food for the rest of her life. And so a company called Interaction Hobbies put out a taco truck kit, and I think they have like an FBI truck, and it's the same truck with some slight differences in the detail, and of course the decals are different. But I did the taco truck for her. That's on my layout, and um, so I will show that next time. That was fun to build. Lots of errors on my part, that I can hopefully show you. And again, that wasn't that well. I did get it for Christmas, so it didn't really cost me. But I think that was about $20 or so. Um, if you are in the hobby shop, um, you know, and you see from um, Walters puts out kind of like a, a cheaper label brand. They just released a bunch of trucks that are all the same. So I don't know um, how they produce them in their. Usually theirs is um, um, molded plastic, but they look really really similar. So I don't know how that all works, but Interaction Hobbies is the person who put out the taco truck, and so I will make sure to show that. Um, and thank you, Eileen, and of course you've been there because you've had to take me there to stuff your face, and I hope, if I get out there this summer, maybe that's a road trip for us. There's another building out there we always visited after we went to Stuff Your Face called Thomas Sweet. Maybe I'll make something that gives a tribute to them. They used to have, there was the first time I think they called them blend-ins back then. A lot of places do it now, both chain and non-chain do ice cream with blend-ins now. But that was the first when I was growing up, and I grew up a long time ago. Um, that was the first that I ever heard of a blend-in, and that was really good. And then they had one, so it was all ice cream in the back, and then on the side they had all kinds of chocolate. I was so enthralled with the blend-ins. I don't think I ever walked out of there with chocolate, which is kind of a sin since chocolate is essential to my survival. So I've been rambling a bit. Please, when you get a chance, come back and comment. Tell me how I'm doing in these live streams, and let me know if what you want to see. Do you want to see more of the show and tell? Do you want to continue to see the build? Are there other things about the railroading journey that I'm doing that you want to see that maybe you saw in videos? I appreciate the feedback. I hope I'm getting better as I do this and more entertaining. And I appreciate, everybody, showing up and joining me, and having the same people come back is really, really nice to see as well. So, and thank you, Zeruda. I appreciate that. And if anybody wants any more information on the kit or any of the builds that I do, just let me know. But as I always say, just jump in. Uh, just try. If you're interested in something, just try it. It doesn't cost much to just try something, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to spend a lot of money on it, and you can move on to something else. But I hope that I inspire everybody to try things and to just jump in. And with that, I will say have a fantastic evening and a fantastic weekend. But before I go, I don't have a lot of information on it, but there are a number of live streamers on YouTube getting together for model railroading 24 hours. 24 hours for this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. They're going to be different YouTubers doing it, but they're going to all be simulcast on one channel. I wish I had the information up, but essentially the background is a fellow model railroad YouTuber has a friend who's also a model railroad YouTuber who lost his sister, who was murdered by an estranged boyfriend, and it's left. I don't know. I don't remember. She's 2 years. No, she's like a baby almost. Does have support, but they're trying to raise some money. I think they were trying to raise $1,000 to get into one of those college funds that earns interest to get it up to where the child will be able to use it for college. So scour. Scour YouTube this weekend. Join in if it's something that matters to you and you want to donate. Please do. That's children's education is a pretty darn good cause, and somebody is now having a problem starting out in their life. I think we as a community could certainly make it a little easier. So again, I know that's a bummer to of a story to end on. But again, check it out this weekend. It should be all over YouTube. Many of you follow many others who will likely be doing the live stream. So again, have a great week.